Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up. This is a wrap up for the Battle of the Bands Round 4 movie soundtrack edition readathon that I was the captain of. I was captain for Team Dance. We did come in last place. Let's not talk about it. It was a really good time. Really enjoy these readathons hosted by Jake the Bookish Drummer. Let's just jump right into it. All right, y'all, I had a total of 4 DNFs and I read a total of 17 books. Yes, 17. I have beaten my record. And the last readathon that we did, I hit 15. The time before that was 16. So 16 is the most I've ever read in a month. I topped it by 1 at 17 for this round. Let's get the DNFs right out of the way. DNF number 1, Road Talk by Eileen Garvin. This was slow. It did not fit the premise, so it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Second DNF was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This was an anticipated release, and this is a soft DNF. It's slower and it's more of a heist type story, and with those type stories you're jumping from different POVs. The story, it's like more drawn out, and I love the premise of this. Okay, now when this first was released I was like, is it tea magic? I thought it was tea magic, but apparently it's like a vampire heist set in a tea house. So, and vampires aren't my thing either, but with this premise, with the tea, like a tea house being like the forefront of it all, it really sucked me in. So with this one, I'm actually gonna do the physical copy for this to really be engrossed in the story, like ingratiated. The audio just wasn't, I just wasn't able to stick with it. Third DNF was Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. This is like the third attempt that I have tried with Darcy Coates, and she is just not my cuppa. So this, I stopped right at a point where it was like, okay, my intuition was telling me there was no point continuing. I didn't have to go too far into this to realize that, you know, it has 5 hours left in the audio, and I'm not going to waste that 5 hours of my life. And I was buddy reading this with Esmay, and buddy reading it also with Reese from Sweet Tea Reads, and Reese finished it, and I was like, listen dude, just tell me how it ends. And she told me, she was like, yeah, you're right, good call. Esmay, she felt the same way, like she finished it too, but she was like, yeah, you know, it's a meh. It is, it's just a meh read. Fourth DNF was Compass and Blade by Rachel Greenlaw. Again, it just wasn't my cuppa. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. With the DNFs out of the way, let's get on to the goodies, to the stories. Let's do it. All right, so book number 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all in the same series. So to fulfill the prompt, funny, ironic title, long series, the prompt, you're the best, and for the prompt, unlikely friends. For all 4 of those prompts, I read the Stephanie Plum detective series by Janet Ivanovich. 1 for the money, 2 for the dough, 3 to get deadly, and 4 to score. This has become my new favorite detective, or my new favorite series, and it just happens, it's not even a detective series, it's a bounty hunter series. Like our main character, Stephanie Plum, she becomes a bounty hunter working for her cousin Vinny. It is set in New Jersey, so think New Jersey, Italian. It is fantastic. The sarcasm, the humor, the wit, the banter. And this was written in the 90s, so you're getting 90s nostalgia. It is top-notch hilarious. The shenanigans that ensue are just, I need this in my life, and I am so glad this came on my radar. I was just scrolling through my Goodreads feed and I came across it, and I couldn't be more happier. It is fantastic. Book number 5, to fill the prompt, Eye of the Tiger. And okay, so I completed and did a re-listen of the Hunger Games trilogy. So the Hunger Games trilogy are my next 3 on this list. To complete Eye of the Tiger prompt, the banned book prompt, and the last minute addition prompt. Hunger Games was for the banned book prompt because that is banned in a lot of places, particularly in like school libraries and such. Hunger Games I gave 3 stars. Catching Fire, the second book, is my favorite. That gets 5 stars. Mockingjay is 3 stars. This is a well-known YA dystopian story. It's been around forever. Written by Suzanne Collins. Could you survive on your own in the wild with everyone out to make sure you don't live to see the morning? In the ruins of a place once known as North America lies the nation of Panem, a shining capital surrounded by 12 outlying districts. The capital is harsh and cruel and keeps the districts in line by forcing them all to send one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to participate in the annual Hunger Games, a fight to the death on live TV. Our main character, Katniss Everdeen, 16 years old. She lives alone with her mother and younger sister, Prim, regards it as a death sentence when she steps forward to take her sister's place in the games. I did not like the narrator for the audiobook. I first read this series years ago. It was years ago. Hunger Games. I have the trilogy. I didn't remember like the books. Now I remember the films because I watched the films often over the years. But the books was like a refresher, and I will say I did not like the writing style of the books at all. I don't think the writing style did the characters justice. You don't really know who the characters are. You don't really get a feel for their personality. The dialogue was like nothing was fleshed out. So I don't like the books. Now the reason I gave Catching Fire book 2 5 stars is because the actual story, you get more of a better narrative, more of the characters, and the actual games in that story is written more descriptively. And I mean, it's my favorite out of the films as well, but I love the films better. I think the actors really did the characters justice. They had to, because the writing, quite frankly, it sucks in my opinion. I don't think the writing was great. I think the concept for the books, the concept was great. The execution was not. Films were amazing. The actors, I really appreciated the actors and the films more after doing a re-listen of the trilogy. They really brought the characters to life, and I couldn't pick better actors to fulfill the parts for these characters. Every actor that they chose for each of these characters was perfect. I can't imagine anyone different for any of them. There are a couple things that I liked better in the book that I wish they included in the films. For instance, Haymitch. In the books, they did go into detail into the games that Haymitch took part in. And in the films, they did not include anything about Haymitch's past or backstory, and that would have really made a difference in my opinion. You would have understood Haymitch better. You would have felt for his character more. You're just left guessing in the movie, kind of like why Haymitch is the way he is. Like, you obviously you know, but you don't feel for him. I do. I mean, I do, but typically people wouldn't really feel for him because they don't have an understanding or knowing of him. What they talked about in the book about Haymitch should have been included in the films. That's just one example of what I think they should have included. But there are several things that they did different in the movies. One thing that I did like was they included Effie. In the books, Effie is not really a character. She's mentioned, but in the movie, they really made Effie a part of Katniss's story. And I loved Effie's character. I thought she was fantastic. And I love that they did that. So for this, I highly recommend the films over the books. In this instance, I go for the films. Book number 8, to fulfill the prompt, A Friend in Me, a Discord buddy read. Now, in the Discord, there were several chosen buddy reads, so to speak, and for the month of July, Jake chose Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I gave this one 3 stars. This is a dystopian classic, and actually my second dip into Ray Bradbury. I did read the first half of The Illustrated Man back in June, and I like DNF'd the second half because I thought the first half was stronger, and like the second half just kind of went downhill for me. So I think Ray Bradbury is okay. Like, he's not my cuppa, really. With this book, it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. The premise of this didn't match, like what it implied didn't match what actually happened in the story. So I was left with a completely different story than I thought I was getting. I liked the beginning of this, and I liked the very end, like the last 20 minutes. Like, in the beginning, we have a character mentioned a few times. Her name is Clarice. Clarice is the only reason I liked the beginning of this. And then the ending of this I liked because it reminded me of the movie The Book of Eli. Now, I can't say what reminded me of this movie because of spoilers. That's the only reason I liked it. So there was 2 things that held me in this story. Also, Tara Coleridge Girl from Pick Your Pop Culture Poison mentioned that there was conversation about how there were movie adaptations for Fahrenheit 451, but she mentioned Equilibrium with Christian Bale, and I hadn't seen that movie in years, so I have now put that on my must-watch list. That is not a remake of Fahrenheit 451, but it turned out to be like the closest adaptation of this book without even trying to be. It happened to be like the closest parallel to the actual story. Book number 9, to fulfill the prompt, read a book with a laid-back character, and I read Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Mwah, mwah, mwah. This gets a beautiful 5 stars. This is a 5-star read. A darkly funny, frightening novel about a young woman learning how to take what she wants from a witch who may be too good to be true. All her life, Annie has played it nice and safe. After being unceremoniously dumped by her long-term boyfriend, Annie seeks a fresh start. She accepts a teaching position that moves her from Manhattan to a small village upstate. She's stunned by how perfect and picturesque the town is. The people are all friendly and warm. Her new apartment is dreamy too, minus the oddly persistent spider infestation. And there's a reason for that spider infestation, which you will learn. And the way it comes out in the story is like, yeesh. It's hilarious, but like, yeesh at the same time. Main character, Annie, obviously, like I read in the premise, like she moves to this small town, which again, atmosphere, it has small town vibes. She meets Sophie. Sophie is, you know, considered a witch, and she's uncanny, she's ageless, she's living in a mansion in the woods. She wields power just in her presence, and everyone in the town seems to be scared of her, but like reveres her when in her presence. And it's witty, it's charming, it has dark humor, it has a positive feminine message, which is the core of the story, along with their friendship. This is a story based on their friendship. The core of it is positive femininity and friendship. I have not come across a story with that at the heart of it. Self-love. The message is self-love. A spider familiar named Ralph. Yeah, a spider familiar named Ralph. It turned out to be pretty fantastic. I very much resonated with our main character, Sophie. The message, her presence, her essence, I resonated with. I saw myself in this character, and her influence on Annie, and I was just like, wow, this Sophie is like, I see this is a part, she's a part of me. This is like, the message in this is like, there was a lot of me in, I mean, minus the black magic, which is not a forefront of this, by the way. Like, yeah, Sophie is a witch, but that's it. Like, there is no, it's just like the implication of of it. There is no like in-depth detail of any of like what she does or anything like that. I gave this 5 stars based on the feeling it gave me. Now, the only thing I did not like about this book that drove me nuts was the fact that our main character Annie does not ask questions. Like there are snippets in this where she finds out she's a witch, but so she's like 400 plus years old. It's like, you're not going to ask questions on, okay, are we going to come back to the questions? Because it was a point in there where she was like, I have questions, and she like asks one. I'm like, okay, are we going to come back to the questions? Because I have so many. We're going to be like, it's going to take weeks to really answer all the questions that I have, because it was implied, oh my god, like she's like questioning reality. What she thought was fiction is maybe not fiction anymore. She's like, do vampires and werewolves exist? And like Sophie answers her by saying, just stick with me and you'll be safe. You won't have to worry about a thing, darling. And that was it. Like we're not gonna like elaborate. There was also something, I hated this. She mentioned, she was like, oh yeah, there was this one time with the unicorn. And he's like, unicorns exist? She was like, that's a story for another day. I'm like, okay. I'm like waiting for this unicorn story, and then you never mention it again. Listen to me. Authors, don't mention something. And don't mention something that is like implying that it's going to be brought up again, or it's like it's a part of the story that's like really intriguing and you're gonna make me want more of it, and then never give it to me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. That's what I hated. I hated like our Annie was just like that's the sound that was in my head whenever she came on the scene and didn't follow through. How do you not ask questions? How do you just not go back to it? Especially with everything that popped up in this story, everything that happened, she starts having abilities because Sophie was seeing in her the magic. There was a magic in Annie that was a familiar spirit to Sophie. But it's magical realism. This is a magical realism story, but I thought it was done really well. Love this story. Love this book. I highly recommend it. Book number 10, to fulfill the prompt, deception of any kind. I read book number 2, The Searcher, which is the sequel to The Hunter, written by Tana French. I think this is going to be a series. Because it says book 2 in Cal Hooper. Cal Hooper is our main character. He's an ex-cop living in Ireland, retired ex-cop. That's why he's an ex-cop. He's retired. He's, you know, in book 1, he moved to Ireland. He's divorced, like trying to make a fresh start in his retirement. And I gave this 4 stars. I mean, this is a crime mystery story. The main reason I loved what I loved in book 1 also happened in this one as well. In book 2 is the dialogue. My favorite part in the whole story is the dialogue, the comedy that happens in the Irish pub. It's comedy gold. I love listening to Irish guys just talk back and forth in a pub. It is so hilarious. I could just listen for hours. That made the story, in my opinion. I liked book 1 better, but I gave this one 4 stars because it's still a fantastic read. Highly recommend the audio. I think the narrator did fantastic. I love listening to the guy's voice, his cadence. It's perfect. Book number 11, to fulfill the prompt, a special edition that I want. One of my favorite stories, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. 5 stars. This is magical realism mixed with a couple other genres as well, but it's mainly magical realism. Adrienne Young did like a mashup. She like mashed up a bunch of different things and threw it in this story, and she did it fantastically. Well done. This is, again, atmosphere. atmosphere, atmosphere, atmosphere. Small island town, multiple points of views, and I usually don't like stories that have multiple points of views because it's so hard to follow along and keep track of, but in this I could, and it was perfect. She wrote it in a way where you're able to stay with everyone, you know who everyone is. We're mainly in the point of view of our two main characters, Emery and August, but every once in a while we'll go into some of the point of views of the townspeople. We're really hitting the point of views of everyone, but it was done in a way where it's not confusing, you're not lost. It's perfect. This is like a movie to me. Like, I feel like this would make a great movie, and this is like my 4th re-listen of this and the atmosphere is so palpable. It really is. I'm just sitting back and enjoying a movie. It plays easily in my mind. I don't have to try. It's just like easily, like cinema right there. And the special edition of this is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Book number 12, To Fulfill the Prompt. Reread an old favorite. I read Race the Sands. I have the physical copy, so let me show you that. Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. This is 5 stars. Clearly, it's reread an old favorite. It's a 5-star read. This is the only desert, this is a YA fantasy, but the only desert fantasy that I've ever liked. I have tried other desert stories and I just don't like them. I don't like them. This, I love. I love it, I love it, I love it. And it's about monster racing champions. We're in multiple points of views in this one, but again, it's done in a way where you're not confused, you're not lost. We have mostly a female cast in this, and our main character is a mom, strong, empathetic, and likable, and it's hard to write a mom character, an MC, that has all those characteristics. It's fantastic. And especially because this is mostly a female cast and there's barely any romance because busy saving the damn kingdom. I like that. Give me more of that. Life, death, and rebirth in Bakar. Who you are in this life will determine your next life. So this is, their belief system is reincarnation. Yet there is hope. You can change your destiny with the choices you make, but for the darkest individuals, there is no redemption. You come back as a Keyhawk, a monster, and are doomed to be a Keyhawk for the rest of time unless you can win the races. After a celebrated career as an elite Keyhawk rider, Tamra became a professional trainer. Then a tragic accident shattered her confidence, damaged her reputation, and left her nearly penniless. Now she needs the prize money to prevent the local temple from taking her daughter away from her. And that means she must once again find a winning Keyhawk and a rider willing to trust her. And so we are in the point of view mainly of Tamra, our trainer, and our rider, and her name is Rhea. And of course, as you can see on the front, there is a black lion Keyhawk. He is our Keyhawk, and he is special, he is different. Book number 13, To Fulfill the Prompt, read a standalone. For this one, I read A Raven's Tale by Kat Winters. This I gave 2 stars. 2 stars. This is a YA fantasy. We're following Edgar Allan Poe as a teenager, and it's about his macabre muse named Lenore. In this world, muses can take on different forms, and Lenore takes on human form because she wants to be seen. And as a muse, like, if you can create what your muse looks like, and because she's macabre, she takes on a human form and she looks like a corpse, really. So a muse can take on a human form if they want to be seen and not hidden away in one's mind, so to speak. The muses in this world are known to be frightful creatures leading artists down paths of ruin and disgrace. The writing style, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was very matter of fact. And considering the story was about poetry and writing, it did not have beautiful writing. It did not have whimsy. It did not hit you in the heart. It did not do anything for my emotions. Book number 14, To Fulfill the Prompt, Grinch holiday setting. I read Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. Don't let the cover fool you. This cover is gorgeous. This is a YA horror thriller story. I'll read the back of it. Enter not the forest deep, beyond the bells, the dark Theans keep. Mwahaha. Oh my god, I gave this 4.5 stars. It does not get a full 5 because of the ending. There was one thing at the end that tripped me up and was confusing, and if it would have been more clear and clarified, it would have been a 5-star. Like, the author mentioned something and did not touch upon it again, and I was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't mention something as if it's important and it's like a crux to the story and then not touch upon it, especially at the ending. This is crucial. It's crucial, y'all. This has, if you've ever seen the movie The Village produced by M. Night Shyamalan, this has the Village vibes. We are in a small town village set in the middle of the forest, and strange things start happening out of the blue. Atmosphere and setting for this book 100% hits that nail right on the head. I mean, that's what the story is. If that's what you want, read this story. It's more thriller than horror. Chapter 19, I will say this as a content warning, because I am not big, I do not like horror in the grotesque sense. I don't like grotesque. So chapter 19 is the chapter that has the grotesque description. That is the only time, and it's like at the beginning part of chapter 19, and it doesn't last long, so it's easily skipped over. That is the only horror grotesque like things that happen, like descriptively, in the story. Everything else is thriller based and implied more so than actually described. The pacing is slower in this, but it's intentional and it works. Also, all the characters are written in a way where they give off the vibe that something isn't quite right with any of them. And that is what makes it so good. So good. Book 15, to fulfill the prompt, read a book that has won some kind of reward. Now for this, I read Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. This I gave 2 stars. This is supposed to be like a children's / middle grade. It's like a classic, and this is also a movie. Y'all, I think I may watch the movie because I hated this book. I do not know why this won an award. I do not know why it won anything. I loved the idea of it, and oh my god, the cover is gorgeous. The cover and the idea for the premise sounded great. Our main character, Jess, has been practicing all summer so he can be the fastest runner in the 5th grade, and he almost is until the new girl in school, Leslie, outpaces him. The two become fast friends and spend most days in the woods behind Leslie's house, where they invent an enchanted land called Terabithia. One morning, Leslie goes to Terabithia without him, and a tragedy occurs. It will take the love of his family and the strength that Leslie has given him for Jess to be able to deal with his grief. This is supposed to touch on loss and grief. I don't think it did. It didn't touch on any of the things. I don't know what I read. I was like, did I listen to the abridged version by accident and I didn't get anything? No. I listened to the full-fledged out thing because it is a short read. Even though it's a shorter book, there was so much missing in this. All of the important things are missing. I thought it missed the mark 100%. 16, to fulfill the prompt, read a book with a B or G initial. I read Queen of Thieves by Beezy Marsh. Gave this 4 stars. This is book 1 in the Queen of Thieves trilogy. It's a historical fiction spin on Alice Diamond. Now, one of my favorite books of all time, I've briefly mentioned it before on my channel, is The 40 Elephants, which is the only book that I've ever read on Alice Diamond. So, and it's my favorite. So when I came across another author who wrote Alice Diamond, I was like, okay, let me give it a go. And 40 Elephants is forever my favorite Alice Diamond. I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to top it. I did give this 4 stars because the writing was really good. I think she did an awesome job, but I don't like what she did with Alice and our main character Nell in this story, because it was kind of reversed from the 40 Elephants. And if you haven't, I don't want to spoil it, but she did like a character reversal. Alice Diamond is the leader of the all-female Hoisters gang in London, 1946. We have our 2 point of views of our main characters, Alice and Nell, and it's just, Alice is more of like the bad guy in this, and Nell, like the 40 Elephants, Alice is the good character out of everyone, and she takes the place of the leader of the Hoister gang and becomes the leader herself. She didn't start out as the leader. In this, Nell takes her place, and Alice turns out to be like the villain, and I didn't like that. But I will continue this trilogy because I like the story itself. I just have to get out of the headspace of comparing the two. But last book, y'all, book number 17. To fulfill the prompt, read a book with an inspirational character or story. Actually, I forgot to include this in the beginning. This is High Five, book 5 in the Stephanie Plum Bound or Honey series. I am gonna read the Goodreads premise just to get you hooked into this series because I want people to read it or listen to it. The audiobooks are fantastic. Meet Stephanie Plum, a bounty hunter with attitude. In Stephanie's opinion, toxic waste, rapid drivers, armed schizophrenics, and August heat, humidity, and hydrocarbons are all part of the great adventure of living in Jersey. She's a product of the burg, a blue-collar pocket of Trenton where houses are attached and narrow cars are American. Windows are clean, and God forbid you should be late. Dinner is served at 6. Working out of money, Stephanie blackmails her bail bondsman cousin Vinny into giving her a try as an apprehension agent. She knows zilch about the job requirements, but hey, she figures her new pal, El Primo Bounty Hunter Ranger, can teach her what it takes to catch a crook. It's great. It's fantastic. The only gripe I have is not with the story, it's with the audiobooks. Because at this time that I'm filming this, I'm on book 8 in the series, and the narrator for the audiobooks has changed. I believe CJ Crit is our main narrator. She is perfect. She is amazing. And then all of a sudden in book, like, she is this character. She is the Italian New Jersey. She captures it. She captures the feel and essence of the entire story of all of her characters and like the heart of the setting. And then all of a sudden in like book 6, I think it was books maybe 6 or 7 is when they changed the narrator. So CJ Crit I don't think is going to be narrating past book 6. So if you get into this in the audiobooks, I'm just warning you right now, our amazing narrator that you get used to, she is Stephanie Plum. She is all of these characters. You get used to hearing her voice inflection for all the characters, and all of a sudden it changes. I don't like that. So for the listening experience, it takes a turn. It takes a turn. But the story itself is great. Mwah, 5 stars. So we have wrapped up the wrap-up of the readathon for the month of July. My favorites for the month, hands down, Cackle. Cackle is a hidden gem. And then of course, Comedy Gold. Comedy Gold, my new favorite, is the Stephanie Plum series. These are my 2 new favorites. I'm so glad that I found them. Whew, all right, y'all, I've been talking for way too long. It is time. It is time. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up and smash the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming bookish content. Comment down below if you took part in the readathon, if you were on my team, what your favorite prompts were, what your favorite books of the month were. I would love to know. And as always, happy reading, and I will see you in my next video. Cheers.